Okay, so believe it or not, it has been 2 years since the release of my series Pokemon Temepst. This was a whole fakemon project that culminated in effectively a 4-hour-long movie, which so many of you have watched and engaged with and told me what your teams would be. And so today, I'm finally doing it. I'm finally revisiting it. I was originally like, am I going to do just 10 Mega Evolutions, for example, for this series? But no, let's do more lore, let's do more story, and give you some new fakemon as well. The fakemon, of course, commissioned by the wonderful, incredible Alex Allen, who is just such a talented artist. I've been so lucky to get to work with Alex over the years. And let's jump back in time ourselves and have a little look at what exactly a Legends Temepst game would look like. So, welcome back to the Solympia region, or as it was known in the time of old, the Kakarikos region. This is the name, Kakarikos, inspired by Kakariko Village from The Legend of Zelda, that was the forgotten name of the southern island of Solympia. Here, there were a strange people a-living. Now, those of you who watch the series will know that north of this island there was a beach town called the Sea Castle Town, and if you know the deep lore, you know that the Sea Castle was actually originally the name of a ship that you were on at the beginning of this Legends iteration of the Solympia region, or Kakarikos region. That ship supposedly brought the people who populated the Solympia region, but you might also know that there were people that existed in Solympia before the people of Sea Castle arrived. But now you're living out that history in this Pokemon Legends Temepst game. You wake up on the beach of Kakarikos Village, or just the Forgotten Village, in the new old Kakarikos region. I didn't remake the map, and also I didn't remake any of the human characters for this. First of all, because the way ancestor characters worked in Pokemon Legends Arceus is that they're basically the exact same character design, just wearing a different outfit. But second of all, because I wanted to save for the actual fakemon, which are coming up, I swear, I promise. Anyway, you wake up on the beach of this island as the result of a shipwreck. Half of the Sea Castle has shipwrecked itself here, and the other half is marooned to the north on a northern beach. That's the area that will one day become Sea Castle Town. For now, it's just an abandoned beach. As you wake up looking like the player character Alex from Pokemon Temepst, you look around and realize very quickly that there are hundreds of people. This ship must have been absolutely huge. People have come here from all across the Pokemon world. They've come from Kanto, Johto, and Hoenn. They've come from Norclo and Asone and beyond. And as your character looks around, they come face to face with someone familiar, Professor Laventon. This game is set at the same time of Pokemon Legends Arceus, just a couple of years before. Professor Laventon is bringing the inventions of Pokeballs to the Hisui region, meeting up with the Galaxy Expedition Squad. So, with him, plenty of Pokeballs, enough for you to use during your adventure. A little sort of home base has been made on this island out of the wood, the remain of the ship. And also, there is a lighthouse. Professor Laventon wonders about the lighthouse and wonders why, if there are people on the island of Kakarikos, why nobody signaled to them and that they ended up getting shipwrecked here. It seems, though, that the nature of the shipwrecking was quite unnatural. At this moment, Professor Laventon will need your help, because 3 of the friendlier Pokemon that he's brought with him, and again, most people don't have Pokemon during this time, but 3 of the friendlier Pokemon, they're running amok around the old shipwreck. You go around the shipwreck and you find yourself coming face to face with the 3 starters of this region, Tepig, Piplup, and Chespin. Of course, all 3 of these Pokemon will have a new regional evolution, but there's a problem. As I was gonna go and get these commissioned, it turns out Hoops and Hip Hop had pretty similar designs, and they're basically what I'd be asking for anyway. So hey, it means we get to do more other fakemon, and Hoops already has a whole video on these forms and a bunch of other starter evolutions. If you need some more fakemon content after this, I'll leave linked in the description. But yeah, you choose one of these starter Pokemon as your partner Pokemon to travel with you, because we're going to need help if we are to deal with this shipwreck. As you scavenge the remains of the Sea Castle further, you're able to make a much smaller boat, a boat that you're going to be able to use to get around the island of Kakarikos. Rumor has it there are locals, people already living on the island, and they're not sure what to make of these strange people who have appeared on this smaller island off the coast. Also in the bow of the ship, you'll find yourself coming face to face with a statue of a Pokemon that you might now know as the mythical Pokemon Allura. It is just a statue though, not alive, not in its Pokemon form, but it does seem to communicate with you telepathically, telling you that your being shipwrecked is no accident. You're needed here. For there is something wrong with the people of Kakarikos Island. They need a hero. Normally, this island is isolated from the world as a result of tempests, great storms that block out intruders. But that's not why people haven't been traveling to and from in recent years. No, a tempest did start 100 years ago, but then it passed and people never left the island. The people of the island now are agitated and acting strangely, and this statue pleads for your help to travel around the areas of Kakarikos Island and to help the people of the region. You can use your new wooden bow as well as your partner Pokemon by your side to visit the various areas of this island, the fanciful ferns, the civilized coast, the Cerulean Sea, and the Solympian Path, both east and west. They're to the north side of the island and are marked by these giant bridges. Right, enough world building. I need to give you some Kakarikian forms from this ancient Solympia time, some evolutions that only happened back then. This is Goliath, made entirely of gold. It's gold-plated at least. It's no longer a rock fighting type, but is instead a steel fighting type. And this Goliath Cyclopean Centurion is the ultimate partner for anyone in Solympia. I wish they still evolved this big to this day. Additionally, we have a regional evolution of actually one of the new Pokemon, Kilowattrel. This is Petawattrel. A Pokemon that gets its name from obviously a petabyte instead of a kilobyte, which is a lot more, but there's also petalasers. And, you know, also petrels are a thing, which it's kind of related to. And those birds have these, like, weird little shapes in their nose. Their nostrils are so odd that I think it would make sense for this to be an electric cannon that fires electrical lasers from its snout. The blood red color of the beak evocative of the fact that these birds are actually pretty murderous. Now, as you travel around the various areas of the island, you'll find yourself coming face to face with the sort of DLC Pokemon, I guess, of Pokemon Temepst, the Primordials. Not all of them, just some of the smaller ones. Each one seems to be terrorizing the local people, and you find that the local peoples and local tribes of Solympia aren't familiar with outsiders. They're very aggressive and hostile towards you. However, they become less hostile after their local infestation of these primordials has been dealt with. For those of you who know Pokemon Temepst and have seen the series, you'll know that there was once said to be a 100-year-long tempest in which certain primordials ruled over the region. You'll have to capture most of the Pokemon that appeared in the original Pokemon Temepst Pokedex. There are a couple Pokemon that don't appear here except through time-space distortions, which keep opening up. Those, of course, include Ditto, Trubbish and Garbodor, Palossand and Sandygast, Manatee, which is one of the more mysterious Pokemon that appears in Pokemon Temepst. The Torpices line that originally appeared from the Asone region, they're not a great fit for this time period, but they were part of that original Pokedex, so I want to include them here as a result of the time-space distortions. And that would also be true for Explomarri and Squiboom. I think the time-space distortions would also be a wonderful way for you to start being able to capture some of those primordial Pokemon. Beta, Gamma, Epsilon, and Upsilon, Sigma are all available through this. These are our main bosses as well, like our noble Pokemon. You also, by the way, may notice the presence of a very familiar sort of Greek-looking villain who is tormenting this region and going under the radar of Professor Lavington. I suspect this trainer uses the mythical Scaradactyl. Anyway, more Fakemon. In particular, there is a giant Pokemon that has been terrorizing the fantastical ferns, the jungle that you'll one day know from Solympia. And in this jungle, it is the evolution to Zevolve. Zevolve originally evolved from Salavite and is the Exceed Pokemon, a Pokemon that exceeds evolution, because originally when I had Salavite commissioned, it didn't have an evolution. I then took its design and went, it kind of looks like the little head thing inside the mouth from Alien, and was like, I should give it an evolution, and did that. And now we've done it again. It evolves once more, leaving the bug type behind and becoming Dark Psychic. This is the alien mother Pokemon, Zelevate. With, I assume, pretty weak stats. I'm not really doing stats for this video, but it's definitely powerful. Just generally badass. I love it. It is the ultimate predator of the jungle. There's also a regional evolution to Charcadet. I wanted to make sure that we got some Paldea Pokemon in here because ultimately, like, Paldea wasn't around when I made the region, and I wanted to make sure there was regional representation from everywhere. And matching in with the theme of this region is a Paladin Pokemon. Palamage, a magenta fairy fire version of Ceruledge and Armarouge. This version evolves when you have Solympia and Aegislash in your party. It has a slender arm that's a magical blade with runes inscribed upon them, and a shield bearing the same runic inscriptions. It is a powerful special and physical attacker. Additionally, in the other normal Pokemon, I wanted to do something with Divern. Divern is one of the fakemon on this channel that dates back the oldest to the first fakemon video I did in, like, 2016. So let's evolve Divern into Draconium. Still a Dragon Ice Pokemon, Divern becomes slightly more organic looking, but its crystals contain the color of Mega Evolution, glowing as if it's made from Mega Crystals. I suspect this has ties to the Mega Evolution phenomenon. The Pokemon simply can't grow like this in modern day, because if so, it would be hunted to absolute extinction. This Pokemon is beautiful. As you continue the story, vanquishing the various primordial Pokemon from the different areas, you learn that atop Mount Solympia, which is called Mount Solympia, from which the rest of the region will one day get its name, there is a Pokemon that is incredibly powerful. A mythical Pokemon, Cyclops, which you may know from the end of the story, that has an incredible brain power. It was once the mountain god of Solympia, but it's been taken over by a Pokemon called Gamma, one of the primordials. However, before taking it on, you'll need another legendary Pokemon, a Pokemon from the time of old, a legend that only really appears in Solympia briefly as like a passing comment that I wanted to expand on more here. This Pokemon awaits for you in the Hall of Heroes, somewhere in the Kakarikos region, I think under Mount Solympia. This hall has lots of statues to old heroic Pokemon, but you realize these statues are not just statues, they actually were Pokemon that were turned to stone by Gelta, the dragon Pokemon that exists down here, turning those that come to fight it to stone. I think having like a battle with this Pokemon similar to the battles that you have with the noble Pokemon in Legends Arceus would be really, really cool. And once it's defeated, its stone curse is undone on the various stone Pokemon that are found in this Hall of Heroes, as well as the mythical Pokemon lroe, which is now awakened in the shipwreck, which you can now go and catch, and a particular Pokemon right here in the Hall of Heroes. That Pokemon is known as Lagalaydon. Lagalaydon already has two different forms. It's the Dragon Slayer Pokemon. One comes as Ground Fairy type, the other as Ground Ice type. Ice and Fairy being the primary types that of course destroy any dragon threats. But in these days, it's a more pure form of itself, having lost the ground type because it is not bound to the ground, and certainly not bound in stone anymore. This is the Pokemon that will help you take on Gamma, and the last Fakemon for this video. The story goes that once long ago, there was a primordial dragon that lived underneath the sea. It pushed up from under the continents and created the island of Kakarikos, as it's known today. From the ancient tops, there burst an ancient evil primordial dragon. However, the people who lived on the mountainside prayed to their deity Solympia, which sent them Lagalaydon to serve them. The ultimate dragon slayer, this Pokemon took out the dragon and split it into the many elemental forms that appear across the region. This is the origin story for the main legendaries that appear in Pokemon Temepst. In ancient times, the legendary Pokemon Lagalaydon, Fairy Ice type, was the Pokemon that slayed the dragon, and now you must use it to take on Gamma, a Pokemon that has caused a 100-year tempest by mind-controlling Cyclops, the previously final Pokemon of the Solympian Pokedex. With this, the Pokedex has expanded, and I can finally give some evolutions to Pokemon that I really feel like deserved it. I always wanted to do an evolution to Cyrox. So many people were asking me in the campaign, hey, when's Cyrox going to evolve? So I'm super glad that we have that now. And I always wanted to provide a little bit more lore for Lagalaydon. After, of course, you, the hero, saving the day, the people of the Sea Castle wreck and the people of the island of Kakarikos will merge together as one new nation, the island nation of Solympia. And this is the end of this historical take for the Solympia region. I want to say a huge thank you to Alex Allen for bringing this artwork to life, and of course a huge thank you to any of you who watched my Pokemon Temepst series. Thank you everyone for watching, and of course, soar high, Pokemon Masters.
Hello there, it's me, Professor Oak. This video is over, so please choose another one wisely and quickly. Bye-bye.
Just the biggest thank you to those of you who've been supporting this channel on Patreon, including the big patrons of this month, Jed Rubin, Charmander Aznable, Anthony Lee, and the Alligator. Thank you so much.